while we had a few technical difficulties as we got in this evening, but wanted to let you know that we're very excited to have you here with us. And I just want to go over a few housekeeping items, and then I'll turn it over to our moderator, Hugh Morgan, for the evening. If you have any questions throughout the night, feel free to use the comment box. We'll answer as many questions as possible. This recording will be made available on YouTube, on the RU YouTube and on RU Connect after tonight. And then we invite you to stay connected with Rochester University on our new platform, RU Connect. And we'll drop the link in the comments as well for all of you to join if you haven't. We also invite you to check out our other Warrior links, and we'll drop that link in the comments as well. We want to thank our sponsor for the evening, which is Chief Financial Credit Union. They are the official credit union of Rochester University. And so I want to just share a quick commercial with you about them, and then we'll come back here together.
Life moves fast and there's no time to waste. Wouldn't it be nice to just shop, tap, and go? Chief Financial Credit Union offers contactless payment options on all debit and credit cards. Shop all you want, then just tap and go. For tap debit cards to multiple mobile payment options, get the contactless payment experience from Chief Financial Credit Union. Life moves fast and there's no time.
I don't want to hear that again, but so Chief Financial, you probably noticed a few of our students in there. If you're around campus, we also do have an RU debit card and credit card with them. So if you're interested in more information, you can visit their website. Please keep your camera on so we can see you, and mute yourself unless you're talking. Our panelists are open to all and any and all questions tonight. So hope you'll use that chat feature. We already kind of went through this, but we'll keep this up throughout the evening. But if you scan that QR code, you can join RU Connect. Super easy there. Tonight, we are honored to welcome our 5 panelists, and all of them have had incredible career journeys to share with all of you, and we're excited to have their insight and wisdom. Hugh Morgan is our moderator this evening. He is a 2017 graduate of Rochester University and has been captivating audiences as a professional speaker, MC, officiant, hype man, and host. I'm really excited for this hype man. His high energy and motivational perspective helps people tap into their most revered parts of themselves. He currently works full-time as Chevrolet District Manager in San Antonio, Texas, and business planner for an employee resource group with General Motors. In 2021, he was elected as the VP of the Alumni Board for Rochester University and works hard to be a voice for change. Hugh lives by the slogan, "You only regret the things you don't do." So we are so happy to have him with us tonight and for him to be doing this. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Hugh.
Well, let me say thank you so much, Ms. Jen. I really appreciate it. I remember when I first came to Rochester College, we connected, and we have literally been connected ever since then. And I truly thank God for you and your leadership. Of course, let me say welcome to all of you that are viewing. It's Rochester University's Warrior Link, RU Alumni and Friends Career Panel. And I know some of you are like, man, I've been wondering, what's the best way to crack into a new career? What do I do after college? How do I take that next step in navigating my career? Well, tonight is going to be all about that and so much more. And of course, it's sponsored by Chief Financial Credit Union. So thank you so much for having our back, Chief Financial. Well, as we kick into this incredible conversation, I would be remiss if I didn't take some time to introduce these incredible individuals you see on our screen here. We have everybody from Miss Pam, she's a retired human resource professional, to David, Youth and Family Ministry Integrated Talent Acquisition Recruiter for Kelly OCG. We have Terry, Director of Human Resources at Rochester University, Jason, Computer Science Management, and Heather with Events, Team Development, and Recruiting. We have a little bit of everybody from all career fields, and that's what I love about tonight. You'll get to hear so many different perspectives, so many different backgrounds, but ultimately, you'll get to be able to ask personal questions on how they crack the code and get into their career fields. But to kick off tonight's conversation, I want to ask one open-ended question. What do you do on your day-to-day job activities? And I think I'm gonna go ahead and throw the ball over to you, Miss Pam, because I can feel your energy coming through the screen. So what do you do in your day-to-day activities?
Well, I'm very thankful that I had a wonderful career and I have retired. But when you retire, you don't stop working, you know? So I am currently involved in community Bible study. I'm the assistant teaching director there. So I am pursuing what what my passion is. And that is women's Bible studies and working with women and to learning more about what God's truth is for them. But I also have that passion for students. And so what brings me here tonight is just being able to talk again with students and hear about what their concerns are and what they're looking for. And if anything that I can share that I learned while I was doing campus recruiting for 14 years, I would love to be able to share some insight with people.
And Miss Pam, I think that's phenomenal because most people never even take into account that the college they came from, they can actually work for. And drawing more people to the college and drawing more people to understand what it's all about. So even in your recruiting, what was the favorite part of recruiting? Was it meeting new students? Like, I'm curious. I want to know today.
Oh man, I loved meeting new students. I loved their energy. I think they kept me young. I used to tell people I started in public accounting when I was 10, but that I really don't look this old. But I loved connecting with students, and I really loved connecting with the professors also because they had so much of a passion for the students and wanting them to find opportunities. When I was a kid, I remember in 6th grade, our teacher telling us that if you go to college, your professors will not care anything about you. You are just a number to them and they don't care about you. And that always stuck in my mind. And I found that is just totally the opposite. I found that professors really do care about students. That's why they're there. And that's what I loved, was just connecting with the professors, finding out where the students were, maybe finding, they would give me some insight into some of the students where they said, I think you can help this particular person. This is where they're struggling at. And so having that connection with the professors was really huge. The other thing that I really liked was connecting with career services, because with campus recruiting, it wasn't just about me. It wasn't just about what I was trying to get for my firm. It was, what can I do for you as a school? What kind of resources can I give to you that I can help you to relate to students? And so that's why I got very involved in resume writing. I got very involved in networking. I did some TV commercials from some of the schools. I did some radio commercials. So it takes all of it to put together. Campus recruiting is just not me going and talking to a student and hiring you. It's building those relationships with those schools. It's building the relationships with the professors, building relationships with career services. And what I told students too, that even you should be networking too, because in your classroom, the people that are in your room with you, your students, someday are going to need an accountant, and they're going to go to the student who's an accountant that they knew. Or if they need a banker, they're going to go to the banker that was probably a student with them, so that is now a banker. So that's why it's really important, I think, to always be networking.
Yeah, no, I agree, Ms. Pam. I think networking is the key to really growing in your career. And it's interesting because a lot of people that I meet, they're like, well, I've got an aspiration for a bunch of different things and I'm trying to find that spot. It's interesting, the other day, I met a young guy and he was like, I'm thinking about going into like computer science. And I thought about you, Jason, because I was like, I've got somebody's phone number I can give you. But I want you to talk a little bit more about networking and even how you got into the computer science management space and what that was like for you, Jason.
Well, I will answer that as best I can, and I will start out by saying that you start out studying a thing, and you come out of school guns a-blazing, thinking like, oh, I'm going to take over the world in computer systems or whatever it might be, and then you realize quickly like, uh-oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I got to shift gears and do some other things. So it's a long and winding road to find your end, and so don't worry if you're a student and you're trying to figure out like, holy cow, how do I make use of this degree? Just give it a shot. My path was not exactly straight. And so I tried a bunch of different things. I worked for a nonprofit. I worked for a little design firm. I worked for a big company. I worked for a small company. Now I have my own consulting practice. And so that computer systems major and all of the studies that I had gave me a good foundation. But my advice, and maybe not a direct answer to your question, Q, but my advice is go and try it. Go and try it. Don't be afraid to fail. Get out there, take your shot. Take your licks. You're not going to be great at it right out of the gate. That's okay. Nobody's expecting greatness out of you. But what I thought was going to be my career in computer systems and computer science quickly transitioned into the creative space, the business space, and now I'm in the consulting space. So all that put together makes my journey, your journey can be the same, but you got to take your shot. You got to try.
Listen, that sounded like a whole preaching message. I just got excited.
I'll be passing the plate in a little bit. Hang on.
Yes, sir. I love it. Let me ask you this, Jason. What's your favorite productivity site or tools or apps that you use to stay productive?
Well, I'm a to-do list guy. So I've tried lots of different list tools and apps on my phone. I've tried Todoist. I've tried Evernote. Not a big OneNote guy, but that kind of thing, like those kinds of tools for me help me stay focused. I'm a frameworks guy. So to me, that means like, I can't just wander through the day hoping I get to the end and, sort of wish and hope for the best. It's like operating on hopium. Forget that. You can't operate on hopium. You got to operate on like, man, I got to keep myself in check on here's what I'm trying to do. Here's what I need to get done today. So I'm a checklist guy. So those are some of the tools that I use right now. I'm on an Evernote kick. So if you don't know what Evernote is, check it out. But it's a place to store ideas, store checklists, store to-dos, grab pictures, take articles, whatever. And that way I can refer back to it. I think there's something therapeutic about having a parking lot for your thoughts and ideas and your to-dos. Otherwise, I find myself getting in bed at the end of the day and I'm like, man, what was that thing? I talked to Q, that was cool, but what did he say? So I got to capture it, voice memos, all that kind of stuff. And for me, Evernote is that thing.
Wow. That is good. I love Evernote. Now, we also use OneNote as well, and I find myself kind of going crazy with that. But you've got to find that thing that helps keep you on track and helps keep you in a line. I used a couple of those tools while I was in school, and those same tools help me while I'm in my career as well. Now, I want to kind of pivot a little bit in the conversation. I want to come to you, Charity, because you're doing some incredible work right at Rochester University. And the work that you're doing, let me say that we see it every single day. But I want to ask you, what landed you into your role?
Yeah, you talked about the power of network, Hugh, and that's actually what landed me in this seat. Before this, I was the executive director at a charter district in Detroit and had no desire to actually go into higher education. But I'm also a consultant and have been doing some work around racial healing and racial reconciliation in the church. And so I was leading two groups of interracial congregations to have discussions about race in America, race and religion, and what does it mean to fully lean into John 17, right? Being one in Christ. And a member of the group is a leader over at Rochester University. And so we got to know each other. We built a relationship, talked about our work and my pathway and journey. And he said, hey, the things that you're doing, like that's exactly what we need over at Rochester. Like the way that you can engage with people, your people skills, your soft skills, as some people may talk about it, but also being able to integrate diversity, equity, and inclusion into all aspects of what we're doing. So it's not something separate, it is simply who we are. And so in those conversations, it led to, hey, you want to come work for us? And for a while, I actually said no, because to Jason's point, that wasn't my path. I didn't want to go to HR. I was in K through 12 education. I've been there for 20 years. I was doing my own thing as a consultant. And so I was like, no, I'm good right over here in my charter district. And constant conversations, they kept coming back like, hey, listen, meet this person, talk to this person, get to know this person. And so they connected me with other individuals at Rochester. And through prayer and those connections, I was really like, this is where God wants for me to be right now. And so it's not the path I chose or the path I planned, but it seems to be the path I'm supposed to be on. And so I'm gonna take this leap of faith. And I have been here now for 4 months, I think.
Wow, that is amazing. And let me say, networking, of course, we know it all. It is the key. But I found that it has been quite difficult in the world we live in with COVID-19 and the pandemic and so many difficulties. We've got a question from the audience, and that's to any of the panelists that feels open to answer. What should RU students and alumni be doing to maximize their career opportunities during everything that's going on right now? I'm gonna just throw that question on the table. Anyone who feels led, just jump in and answer. Y'all like cue us.
Hey, I'll keep talking. I mean, I'm not shy. Someone told me a long time ago, take every meeting, take every lunch, take every opportunity to learn and explore more opportunities. So when you have a job and it's like, hey, cool, I'm working this job, and someone calls you and says, hey, are you interested in this opportunity? Don't just go like, nah, I'm not good. Like, think about what Charity just talked about. Take the meeting, at least go and find out. And so whether that means doing it in person or not, Hugh mentioned that there's a lot of challenges with the remote environment that we're in, but take every meeting and take every opportunity to expand the people that you know, because someone down the line who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody is going to be, oh yeah, Charity, I know her. Didn't you meet her? Yeah, I took a lunch with her one time. I turned that job down, but there's a different opportunity. So please hear me on this. If you are a student, even if you're not a student, please hear me on this. Take every meeting, every lunch, every opportunity, and just find out. You never know what God's got for you. You never know what opportunities. Your network is everything. And if you don't expand that and cultivate that, you're going to be staring a handful of people in the face over and over and over again. So just take every single opportunity and at least explore it. That's my 2 cents.
That's good, sir.
Yeah, you got to understand that every conversation that you have is never going to be a wasted conversation. If it's also going to be for the purposes of networking, maybe the opportunity for you to plant the seed for your future and your hope and an investment, which really, this is an opportunity for you to invest in yourself. But let me say this, all of us who are probably on this call, when we got our situation in education and opportunities for college, we probably entered into that environment on our own. And some of us have found that we've picked up some stragglers, or maybe we were the stragglers that someone else picked up in our life with our marriages, our families, and our kids, all saying, let me in. So those types of things have happened in our lives. And so you don't know what types of conversations and where those will lead. So take every conversation. I think Jason's got a good point there.
I think something else you always hear about, the whole person comes to work. How about the whole person comes to life? One of the things I learned, especially during the pandemic, is listening. I was impacted by events. Hello, we kind of all went down in a shutdown. So what could you do? And just talking with people, I connected with the community in so many different ways and got a chance to connect with people that, not that I wouldn't have met them beforehand, but when you're in a certain setting, you typically network with people who are in the same industry, or you're kind of vetting out to find the clients. But I mean, I've learned from people from different levels of expertise, years. And I'll use a perfect example. I was just connecting with an individual in the community, and they're like, hey, I got involved with this community project, and they started telling me about it. I've gotten plugged in, and I'm actually going to be helping out a little bit more of just going out and helping this organization with putting homeless into homes and getting them to stay there. And why doing it? Staging and decorating. I love doing that. So that's an element where you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it's not like just giving back. It's part of who you are and what you like to do. And then the same thing too, some of the other elements that you may do, it may be on a technical side, as Jason, you alluded to, computer science or things of that sort. All those things are helpful, and it's going to help somebody else down the line. So I use my little model, listening, applying it, sharing, and then thriving in it too. So sharing doesn't just stop with you. It continues with passing on the baton to somebody else who may be able to benefit or grow from the area. So when you apply those things, share it, serve it, you can thrive. And it's not just about you, it's about putting the place and abiding by the gifts that God has given you. So that's thriving.
Wow, that is good. And thank you all for sharing. Listen, if you do have a question, the chat room is open. Go ahead, drop your comment, drop your question. We'd love to hear it, because we have some incredible individuals who are ready to answer your questions. Now, I have a question for you, David, because you've worked in HR, and let me get my pen ready because I'm taking some notes on this. How does a recent graduate, how does a person stand out in a world where I feel like there's so many competing individuals and everybody's trying to stand out? How does a person stand out?
Well, here's a little secret. Depending upon what you're wanting to do, you have to understand that right now, everybody's into these keywords. So if you're a big Twitter fan, everything's got a hashtag. Your resume, if you're writing a resume, here's what's happening. On my end, as a person who is a recruiter, we're actually not interested in reading the entire narrative of your resume. And I'm not saying that that's fair, that's right, or that's wrong. What we're doing is we're going to be looking for key phrases because we think that you're defined by little definitive words. We use these things called Boolean searches in our industry. So Boolean spelled Boolean, Boolean, all right? And that basically allows us to code looking for specific words, phrases, experiences, titles, industries, all over your resume. And when your resume comes back with all of those phrases, then we go, oh, we think we have found our needle in the haystack. So if you have, let me just say this, if you have a particular industry that you think that you might be passionate about now, and I'm just going to take a little tangent here to go back to something that Jason said. Know that your industry of passion right now may not be your industry of passion 5 years from now. So always be ready to have that passion be flexible, okay? Because sometimes, let's face it, passion does not pay the bills. And I'm going to say this, and I've said it to people I recruit on phone calls, bills are guaranteed, jobs are a luxury. So here's the thing, find out what you're passionate about and take a look at your job history. And are you doing the things right now, like the activities that you're involved in your education, maybe some of the extracurriculars that you're helping to support, the people that you're networking with right now? And don't think that you need to start networking once you get a job. Start networking now, even while you're in school. Get that LinkedIn profile up there. Get yourself on social media. And I don't just mean for Facebook and to say, look where I'm eating and look where I'm at and look who I'm with. Okay. But make sure that the look who I'm with and the look where I'm eating and the look what I'm doing actually have some significance to them, because we're looking at those things as well. So understand that you've got to market yourself with some of those key initiative, key phrases, put yourself out there, and we're going to find you and put you hopefully in the right spot in something you're passionate about. And then, like Jason said, you're probably going to find out through a lot of life circumstances that maybe perhaps what you thought you were passionate about, you're not quite passionate about it much anymore, and you'll have a change in direction. And that networking is then going to come back to help you, because that's probably going to be what puts you in a place like where Charity's at. Right place, right time, right conversation.
Listen, I want to just drop the mic right there because that was really good, David. Wow. And I agree. And we've talked about so much tonight so far. And I think the key that I have learned and the thing that I continue to practice is always putting my best foot forward. No matter what's going on in my life, no matter what's happening in our world, I have to always put my best foot forward and always be positioning myself for where I want to go compared to just staying stuck to where I am. And I know that in a plethora of different fields, there are a wide range of different skills you can develop. But Heather, I want to ask you this question. In working in your field, what would you say are some critical skills you should have to really be successful?
Yeah, that's great. So actually, let me kind of give you a little backstory going into my field. So recruiting is, my baby. I love helping people go after what they're looking to do. They have to get the job themselves, but I'll help with guiding and providing some of those means, and such as like the Boolean search. That's definitely a key element. So David, you are speaking the talk because it is the truth. And so, but with some of those things is communication. Communication is huge. You hear it all the time, and it's not just cliche, but it's key to talking about it, listening, figuring out things. How would you do things different? For me, I look at ways that when it comes to events or experiences of what would be the problem or what are people going to have issues with, because people want things. They want things now. They want them the right way. They want them effective and so forth. And so if you don't look at that and you don't go in with a plan, you're going to come in with an event or an experience where it's just going to be like, who was that for? What was the intention? And especially it's an investment. So you have to look at those things of what's important, what are our customers, what are the people who we're working with, what are our guests, what do they want to see? what is the purpose of the goal? So for instance, for RU, there may be an initiative or a mission that you want to go after. What is the goal? Is everybody on board with that? And not everybody's going to be on the board, so you have to realize you're not there to please everybody. That's what's cool about pleasing God. It makes it easy, please one, right? But at the same time, you got to look across the board, and there's going to be different things that come up. Look at those, ask questions, do your research, try it out. And if it doesn't work out, guess what? Try again. There's opportunities, and there's going to be opportunities for lessons learned and opportunities for even greater opportunities. So communicating is absolutely huge. Networking is great with doing that, and doing that not just in your own network, but also looking outside. I actually had a conversation with somebody recently, and they're like, she has a new nickname for me. She's like, I'm going to call you CC. I'm like, okay, what is that? She's like, you're like the community connector. You need an HVAC person. You need somebody a DJ. You need this, you need that. You need a professor. You need that. And it's just how I built those relationships is listening and talking with people and getting to know them along that line. So networking is another part that's huge of that. And then details are absolutely important. Details come from everything from follow-up to like the small little things of not what people will see, but what will be practical, functional, but fun. And that's kind of like the rhythm I go with. I like to have fun, I like to celebrate and honor people, but I also want to do it in a way that is productive, effective, and it's helpful. And so, with that, if it's adding a little detail that that person finds important to them, or something that's going to help along the way, make sure you look for those little things, because it's going to go a long way. And it shows that you're listening, you're paying attention, and better yet, you're looking at them as a human being and not as a business asset or a number. You're looking at them as life. So those are just a couple of them. There's many more, but a couple more.
That is good. As you were talking, I thought about something. I have a couple of mirrors that are up in my house. And Miss Pam, I want to ask you this question because you came to mind. What would you tell your younger self just getting out of college? What advice would you give to yourself stepping out into your career, being bold, just taking risks? Like, what advice would you give to yourself? I'm curious.
That don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to step out. And if you're successful, great. And if you're not, well, then what did you learn from it, and move on. Follow your passion. Follow what your passion is. I know that I never realized how much I loved HR until I realized that I wanted to be a nurse, but I decided not to do that. And then I was going to be a teacher, and I decided not to be that. And I ended up in business. But I ended up in HR, where I get to do all the kind of things that I love to teach. I love people. I love to help people. So all of those soft skills that really would make a great nurse or a great teacher, I was able to put that into HR. And so for me, it's following what your passion is. I've talked to many students who their parents thought that they should be in this particular field. And so they were trying to please their parents and fit into that field. And it was just like a square peg in a round hole. It did not fit. You have to find what really works for you. What is your passion? What is your talent? And if you go to career services too, I'm sure that they can help you do assessments to make sure what you know, because when I got out of college, I went to career services, and they said, here's a book that you can look at that has some job openings for teachers. And that was all I got. That was it. And I learned as I went along in my career, again, through networking and wanting to learn and wanting to be a professional and what I had to do. I started connecting with people that I knew that could help me get to where I needed to be. And so it's connecting with those right people that care about you, that see what talents that you have, and that they can help you too. So for me, I think it was just praying God's direction, but also going for what my passion was.
No, that's good. I think my dog got excited as well. He jumped up on the couch like, what? No, I totally agree. And I think that if someone who's watching this and they're like, how do I crack into my field? How do I make that connection? Well, here it is. You've got a plethora of different people who are ready to connect with you, ready to talk with you, ready to dive into additional conversation and provide insight, right? You can never say you don't know anyone because we've got a whole panel of people who are gifted in what they do. And as you can see, skilled in so many different areas. I want to throw one more question just on the table before we go to Q&A. And that's this. What's the most favoriteest thing? What's the thing that you love about your job most? Anybody, just take the mic, grab it, share. What's one thing you love most about your job?
I get to help people be a part of their milestone. So whether it's a wedding, whether it's graduation, even in times of considering, during pandemic of loss, being there for families during difficult times and just, being available and providing a way of how we can honor them, whether it's through gift, whether it's experience. And then from a recruiting point, I mean, this is like a huge element that they get to go after what they're doing. And I guess for students, what I would encourage you, and not even just students across the board, when you think of, you've heard of everything from anxiety, depression, and all the different factors that have impacted people mentally, like you were made with a purpose and, you are here for a reason. And when people are like, I don't know what companies are going to think when they ask me those questions, guess what? You know best who you are. And if you don't, God does. so check with them, he'll let you know. And if you look at that, you go in that interview and just say, this is who I am. And you share with them, now be careful with what you're eating and all those stuff. Some stuff you have to, make it look pretty, but at the same time, you be who you are, be transparent and know that, you're going to enjoy what you're intended to do. And you may have to take a couple steps forward and a couple steps backwards. You may have to pause. In my personal life, God put me in a season where he's like, you know what? I need you to be present for family. So I may be Uber mama sometimes of like, hey, I need a ride, but I can be available to do that. And I wouldn't want to miss that opportunity. So look at those stones as an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to connect with people who people who you don't know, and just look for some exciting times to come and also hard times, but you thrive and you keep moving forward.
That's good. Anybody else?
One more thing I thought about. Heather, I'm kind of, you made me think about this. And that is if students can understand that they have learned all kinds of skills, we call them soft skills. And those soft skills can be applied to wherever you're.
I think you went on mute, Miss Pam. Unmute yourself.
What Heather was saying to me, it just kind of hit me, that you have a lot of soft skills that you've learned, and those soft skills can be applied to whatever job or whatever position that you're interviewing for. And if you can do that and show that you have value by what you did at this job or this particular situation, or maybe what you did on campus, and that brings something that you can give to this organization that you're interviewing for, that also helps. So use those soft skills. Think about what you've learned in the past and how you can apply that for the future. And the other thing too is that not to think of it as interviewing for a job. You're interviewing to start your career. That, I think, coming out of college is huge. I know when I was recruiting, that was the one thing that was just kind of a turnoff to me. If somebody would kept talking about, well, I need a job, I need a job. Well, you can get a job anywhere, but do you want a career? Do you want a career? Are you looking at this organization? Does our organization fit into your values? And will we be a good fit for you? And will you be a good fit for us? And then also looking too, I tell students, is think about where you want to be maybe in the next 5 years. And when you're interviewing, do the organizations that you're looking at, do they really have the resources that you will need to be able to accomplish the goals that you have for yourself? So again, I think it goes back to, everything's back to networking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything's back to people, but it's taking those soft skills and being able to apply those where you can bring value to the organization that you're trying to get into to start your career.
That is good, Miss Pam. Pam, I'm coming to your house for coffee. Listen, we've got to jump into some Q&A, so I'm going to hand the mic over to now the incredible Jen Porter to kind of navigate us through that Q&A. But let me say to the panelists, thank you for your hearts. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you for tonight. I know that most of all, most importantly, that students have been impacted, encouraged, and inspired that wherever they go, that they can have fun and enjoy life on the process. So Jen, I'm gonna hand it over to you. You take it away.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Q. Q had to jump to another meeting because he's big time. So I know, Charity, you wanted to say something with that final question. So I'll let you share what you were going to say. And then we have a couple more questions in the chat. And I have a few for you too, if nobody else has questions. So, Charity.
Yeah. Thanks, Jen. So I was just going to say that the thing I love the most about the work I get to do is the human aspect of it. When people walk in my office, I get to make them feel seen, valued, and heard, right? Whether it is in an interview process and I'm able to really get to know you, not think about the box that sometimes we put applicants in, really ask questions to understand, are you the right person to join our team? Whether you're having a bad day, you're frustrated, you're trying to figure out what your next steps are, you're going to a different job. In all those spaces, I get to watch people walk into my door and be really curious and connect with them and make them feel valued. And so I think HR makes work human, and we miss that a lot in the world. And so that piece of it energizes me because the human connection is what I thrive on. And so I think that's the best part about HR, is being able to connect with people just as people and saying like, yeah, I hear you. Talk to me some more. How do I help you? How do I help resolve this? How do I support you?
That's great. Yes, I think that human aspect is sometimes an aspect that gets lost in every profession. It's not just a job. We're all humans first and foremost. So thank you for that. So we'll jump to one of the questions. We have about 15 minutes left. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. We said 8 o'clock, and it seems like we'll need a part 2 of this series. So we'll get that scheduled too. So Steve Moore asked, how important are internships on the path to the right career? Did any of our panelists have them? And how can we best connect RU students with internship opportunities? So 3 questions in one. It wouldn't be Steve's question if it wasn't 3 questions in one. So whoever wants to jump in and take that question, feel free to unmute yourself and share your insights.
Put a nugget in there. So internships are absolutely important. First of all, I love interns. They are awesome. Oh my goodness. And full-time staff are awesome too. But I actually had the pleasure of working with a big national firm for over a decade and coordinated a lot of events, as well as just that human aspect of getting to know interns when they're like, I'm thinking about moving out of my parents' house, and they're like, wait, I can't afford to do that. Just kidding, but having those conversations to, hey, I'm interested in going into finance or accounting or whatever field it may be, but it's absolutely important how you get involved and plug into that. Apply for whatever industry you're in. This is important for you to know. Timing is absolutely important. Do not wait till when you're about to graduate, because when you do that, you are too late at that point. It's not impossible, but planning is absolutely important. And so, we identified individuals a year and a half, sometimes 2 years, and they would have a full-time job already lined up. But at the same time, too, internship opportunities do help. For me personally, actually, I discovered the world of HR through my internship. I was actually, just out and about getting my summer job. And, I remember they kept schmoozing. I'm like, I want to schmooze people. I want to, be hospitable to people and help them with their careers. That's cool. I want to do that. Now, of course, if I knew I wanted to do events back at the time, my dad may have had a different conversation of like, why are we spending how much in helping with going to school to do that, but full circle, it was really cool how I had a chance to get my internship opportunities, navigate of what I wanted to do, what I didn't like doing. And there were some things where I was like, that's definitely not my cup of tea, but I still worked very hard with what I was doing, even if that was my forte. And through that, I was able to develop a lot of skill sets with everything from business, HR, people development to new hire orientation, team development, leadership, a ton of those different things. And in that, I get to celebrate people. So that's where the events component came in. But with the internships, make sure you get involved and don't think like, oh, I'm just an intern. You're never just an intern. You are so valuable. And just to see the growth and the development. And, I've actually been able to witness interns. I saw an intern convert throughout the years, throughout their journey of, hey, guess what? I get in the master's program. Guess what? I passed this certification. I'm engaged. I'm getting married. I'm having my first child. By the way, I just got promoted to director, and that was over the years. So that is not impossible, and it's valuable. And when you look at back to the individuals who helped it was those mentors, the professors, the career services, the alumni connections. There are so many different people and resources that God has blessed us with. We just have to tap into them the right way and continue those relationships. So that way you can continue to flourish and continue to progress as to what's intended to happen. So hopefully those were the 3 questions and then some. Steve?
Yeah, I think you got all 3 of them. Does anyone else want to jump in there, share their internship experiences, or should we move on to the next question? All right, we're going to move on. So now that Q's gone, I'm going to ask you the hard question. What is the hardest thing you have had to experience to get to where you are today? And how did that shape you, grow you, change you into who you are and what you are in your job?
Jason kind of alluded to this earlier, and that is that there are going to be some times where you literally feel like you're going to have to reinvent yourself. You had this idea, you had this dream, you had a first passion, and when I say first passion, I don't mean because it was first on your list. It was the first one you knew you had. It's almost like a first love. You may get a second and a third, but I did not start off doing what I'm doing right now. I started off having a 15-year career in full-time pastoral ministry in churches, locally here in Michigan and other places across the United States. That allowed me to network with a lot of people in a lot of different industries just through the passionate work of ministry. But when I was back here in the Detroit area and I was part of a kind of a small church launch, I had to find a way to do some supplemental income for my family. And I had no idea, because here's the thing. When you get so knee deep and even up to your eyeballs in your particular genre or feng shui of your career, it's like blinders on a horse. You have no idea what else is out there. And I had no idea about LinkedIn and Indeed and ZipRecruiter and where to post a resume. I didn't even know how to write up a resume that didn't look like I was trying to get a church job. So I had to reach out and I had to find some great people to, number one, help me with my resume. Pam talked about soft skills. Let's talk about transferable skills. How does being an effective communicator, staying in front of people, how does that transfer into being able to delegate, revitalize, and potentially even reorganize a department? So because I didn't have a clue what to do, I basically did what I used to do as a kid. Now I want you to imagine being like a 40-plus-year-old man who had had a successful career, walking up the street into a factory locally right here in the Detroit area and saying, do you have a job? And filling out an application and then asking to see the manager. Now that is back in the day, it's how you got a job. And that's usually like one of those, would you like fries with that type of place? But that was the world that I had left. And then fast forward, it was like Back to the Future. What happened to what I used to know? I had a job at a factory here locally. I got paid $10.75 an hour. Oh, by the way, that was with my Rochester University education, working $10.75 an hour on midnight shifts. I quickly rose in the ranks and became a production supervisor. And then I had to interview contract workers who were coming to our factory. And then I had to turn around and work with those HR folks on the contracting team and say, I know you're asking these candidates these types of questions, but you're not really giving them the full picture of what this environment is like. How can I help? That network led to a lunch. By the way, Jason, I took a meeting, and that meeting led to me getting into a recruitment corporation where I recruited people to go work for GM and Chrysler or Stellantis or whatever they want to call themselves these days. I got to recruit people for some of the KUKA robotics, the Kamau, the automation engineering programs that we've got all over the Detroit area. That led me to a partnership with Rockwell Automation, where I got to go to Allegis Global Solutions. And then because of the success I had there, I literally spent some of my time, and here's the great thing about it, during this pandemic and the recovery time, who knew that recruiters were like one of the most wanted people in all of society? And by the way, you know when the best time to go look for a job is? When you have a job. Because people make desperate decisions when they're simply looking to pay their bills. But when your bills are being paid and you have a job and maybe even like everything about your job, then you can get picky and choosy. That's when you can actually say, yeah, I like burgers, but do I like cheese on my burgers? And do I want extra toppings? And so I got to come to an organization that could add the cheese and the extra toppings and some of the other things that I felt passionate about going forward, that can combine some of the elements of what it meant to be a pastor, and then some of the values and some of the things that are really important to me about placement of any person of excellence in any position of excellence that they may not have had opportunities for in the past. So that's the thing. You just never know. That was my worst experience. I'm not kidding you. I tell people that, and I say, look, I'm not going to lie. I know the traditional model is I'm the man of the house and I'm supposed to be the provider. But thankfully, I have a wonderful wife who literally, she became the breadwinner. Well, I'll admit this. I literally, as a man, felt emasculated with a $10.75 a job an hour working in a factory with a college education. But let me say those moments, we want to use a biblical thing. If you use some of those Joseph moments, you never know when they're going to let you out of jail. And you're going to get to do something very powerful. So don't give up. Don't give up.
Thanks, David, for sharing that story. Anyone else really quickly want to share their failure story?
I can lean in here really quickly because I have failed horribly a lot of times in life. And nobody told me in college to expect to fall flat on my face and it would be okay. And so, type A personality, overachiever, parents didn't really accept anything other than perfection. And so big failure, like I did not want to get out of the bed the next day. As a young principal of a middle school in Detroit, in my first year, I had to fire a teacher. And I didn't agree with the firing or the non-renewing of the teacher's contract. And I had no one to go to help me figure out how do I do this humanely and in a way that like makes me feel okay to go to sleep tonight. And I don't know about y'all, but when I don't know what to do, sometimes I go hide and I do nothing. Well, guess what, y'all? I did nothing. I was like, man, this teacher has this horrible review. They don't want her back. She can't come back. She won't have a job. We're going to give out contracts. She's not going to get one. And so I just waited until we gave out contracts. And she was one of the people who just didn't get a contract from me. And I was probably maybe 30 or 31. And so in my mind, I was like, woof, dodged a bullet until she came storming down the hallway. And I learned really quickly that avoiding the hard conversations actually set you up for a bigger failure than just sitting down and talking with people really honestly. And it was really hard to get up the next day and go face my teachers because you know how teachers are. We tell you, hey, she didn't give me a contract. She didn't even have the nerve to talk to me about it. She didn't even respect me. Like that conversation was happening and I still had to walk in that building and be like, all right, here's what we're doing today. Here's what I need for you to do. Here's the expectation. Go teach the kids. But with humility, right? Because there was egg all over my face and everyone knew it. And so I would say like, that was a humbling experience, but it also reminded me of the power that I held as a principal and knowing that how I deal with you in every interaction literally could determine what's happening in your life. And that no matter how uncomfortable it was for me, it was going to be uncomfortable for you too, but I had to treat you humanely and have the conversation out of respect of you as a person. And I would say my failures, I've had some big old ones, but like a friend told me, like you fail forward, like you deal with it, you learn from it, and then you use it as a stepping stone to move forward because you cannot stick your head in the sand and pretend like the failure didn't exist. And so I've tried to live by that for all my little and big failures.
I love that. I love the fail forward because we all make mistakes every day. I make mistakes. So if we can learn from them, that's great. We are at the end of our time. So one last comment, question. We have talked a lot about networking tonight, and all of our panelists have agreed to share their contact information so that you can grow your network. You can grow how to, take the next step. Ask those questions that maybe you didn't ask tonight, and it pops in your head in the shower tomorrow morning. So we will, when we email out the recording, we'll email all of their contact information as well. You can find all of them on LinkedIn also. So if you haven't started your LinkedIn profile, you don't have it, whatever, get going on that, because that's a number one importance. If you do have it, connect with all of them tonight, because they're here to help. They want to help. They agreed to that when they signed up to do this. So I want to thank everybody here tonight. And with that, we will conclude the night. We hope you'll join us for next Warrior Link series by logging on to connect.rochesteru.edu and joining us on there. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye, guys.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.